get to be any little thing that we want to be. No matter what comes our way, we'll be together, together.
Welcome to Homeschooling Down South. I'm Kayla.
And I'm Kat. We're two Southern homeschooling mamas sharing real talk, resources, and inspiration for life and learning in the Southeast.
Each week, we'll chat with inspiring voices in the homeschool community, highlight must-see nature spots and field trip gems, and share resources from across the region.
Whether you're new to homeschooling or a seasoned pro, pull up a chair and join us as we celebrate the joy, freedom, and community of homeschooling down south.
We'll laugh together, we'll learn together, find the joys in life together, give each other grace and space to be.
Welcome back, y'all. Today, we are talking to you about our experience at Chattanooga Audubon Society. Kat and I both had separate homeschool day experiences, so we're excited to share that. But Kat, since you're the one who told me about this and got us involved with them, tell us how you found out about the society, but also what they offer.
So I just hope that people, when they listen to our podcast, are like, there are so many ways to stumble upon all the cool homeschooling stuff in our area, or even not in our area, wherever you are. So this is going to be the most really, that's how you found that place story. So last December, we were heading up to Chattanooga. Your family was too, separately, to go on a train ride with the Tennessee Valley Authority. But anyways, we stopped for lunch in this area in Chattanooga that is where all the stuff is. You know, every city has that road where the Target is, the Trader Joe's is, the Whole Foods, it's that road. But because we were having family day, we took this back road in. And as we were driving on this back road, I saw a brown sign, and I am always on the lookout for the brown signs because they mean there's a hike or a campground or something naturey, something that I am probably interested in. And the sign said Chattanooga Audubon Society, and that's all it said. And with an arrow and 2 miles that way. And I'm like, okay, so there's something cool that I don't know about that I need to know about, right here. So I took a picture, and when I got home, I started to look into it. I went to their website and I was like, oh, this place looks amazing.
Yeah.
And at that point, I still wasn't even thinking about it from a homeschool perspective. I was thinking about it from a hiking perspective.
Yeah.
And then I was like, events and programs, let's check that out. They have homeschool days.
So many of them.
What? Okay. And then I got to get Kayla involved in this conversation. I think we both were trying to figure out if we could go to one together, and our schedules just weren't aligning for this spring. Spring felt like it was so full, but we both knew we really wanted to go check it out and tell y'all about it on the podcast. And so I think it's kind of cool we actually ended up on separate days because now we have this very robust experience we can tell you about.
Yeah.
That was probably too much detail of how I found the place.
No, I love it.
But I just want people to know, you can just be driving down the road and stumble across your next homeschool day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, before we get into our experiences, we actually had the opportunity to chat with their education director and find out a little bit more about how these homeschool days came about and how they're structured. And it was really just a fascinating conversation. So we're going to share that with you, and then we'll come back and tell you about all the fun that we had.
We are really excited to have Jessica Whitehorn, the education director at the Chattanooga Audubon Society, to chat about the homeschooling days that y'all offer. We're so excited to learn more.
Well, I'm so
Welcome.
excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and we're so pumped because we are relatively new to your programming, but we've realized you guys have a ton of programming specifically for homeschoolers. So I would love to know, have we been living under a rock? How long has that been going on?
Well, we started doing homeschool programming about once a month about 5 years ago. We found that it really was helpful for homeschool families to be able to have a program that just was situated once a month. They could come out, they could do that program. And we're trying to offer it more than just once a month. It just depends on what instructors I have and whether I'm doing it in-house or if I have a artist coming in and filling in and doing that program. I've had a lot of artists reach out, and so we're trying to get more artisans to come in. And so if anybody's an artisan and they'd like to come do a program with us, message me. We'd love to have you.
So cool. So you're using the word artisan. Tell us a little bit about the vision of what kinds of experiences kids are having at the homeschool days.
So we have anything from historical, where they come in and they teach you a different historical skill, to we have someone who did basket weaving and taught the kids basket weaving. We've had spoon carver who's come in and taught spoon carving. We've had someone do mushroom foraging. And then we've had someone come in and at the beginning of this month, they're doing a living history course where they're actually going to be showing the kids how they built shelters in the 17 and 1800s. And then they'll actually get to learn how they made bullets in that time period as well.
That's so cool.
Oh my gosh, that is like some serious, like hands-on living history. That's so neat.
And we
How
have
did
a
you all
fun course coming up in the fall. That's a 9-week living history course where the kids will get immersed in living history. They'll learn how to be historical interpreters, and then they can take those skills and use them in our Pioneer Days event, or they can come in and on a Saturday, they could use those skills at our cabin, teaching rope making, butter churning, and those other type of fun things that they did historically.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure out how to do it for adults because I've had some adult interest in it too. So I'm like, how do I get an adult version?
How long have you been with Chattanooga Audubon?
5 years now.
Okay, so you came on and kind of kickstarted this
Mhm.
whole educational programming. That's amazing at how much you have now in just 5 years.
It's amazing how quickly we have grown in not only the homeschool community, but in the public school community as well.
This is making me wonder. I don't know that much about the history of Chattanooga Audubon Society.
Mhm.
So can you give us a little bit of that background?
Sure, we've been here since 1944. It was started by Robert Sparks Walker. His family owned this entire property, and he really wanted this property to kind of stay with the public and be able to have the public utilize it. He was big in nature. You could literally call him up and describe a bird to him, and he would tell you what it was over the phone. There's some really cool pictures of him with a pigeon on his head as he's reading a book and doing some work. And he was a prolific writer, so he wrote stories, poems. I mean, he did it all. But yeah, he lived here in the cabin and he has stories of when the cabin was closer to the railroad tracks because unfortunately we had to move it because of the railroad shaking it. There's stories of him taking apples and putting them on sticks and giving them to conductors as they go through the train on the tracks. So yeah, it's really cool.
Wow. That's amazing.
What a special story this
Mhm.
property has. That's really cool.
So you said initially when you guys started the homeschool programming, you were doing it once a month. Is that still your rhythm? Because there's been a couple classes here recently. So how has that expanded and what are you offering now?
We're still doing it mainly once a month, but I've had so many instructors now that have really gotten interested that I'm doing it almost once a week where we have some
Wow.
kind of class going on for whoever's interested. It could be a kid, it could be adult. We have a wide range of classes now that we are finally able to offer and a wide range of pricing. So we try to keep it as low as possible, but we know that with our artisans that come in, we want to be able to pay them a fair wage to be able to bring their programs to us.
So I love that this is like a combination of like programs that I know y'all are putting on in-house, but then also opening up to the community. So what are some of the different flavors of the programs that someone might find if they went on the website?
So they could find anything from an adult class where they're learning how to mushroom forage or they're learning herbal teas to all the way down to a kid learning how to roll a log over and find salamanders or getting in the creek and learning about the different ecosystems that live in there or the historical aspect. They could be learning how to churn butter or we have a new program called our archaeology program where students actually get to dig like an archaeologist and then they get to take home little souvenirs for that program. And then we also offer that for birthday parties. So any of our educational programs, you could turn that into a birthday party for your child. And we
Wow.
offer, yeah, it's really cool. And so we can turn that into a birthday party and then they get these little baggies of things to take home, whether that be a water program or the archaeology program or a logs life program and beyond.
And these artisans that you have coming in, are you sourcing them? Are you saying, hey, I want to offer a blacksmithing class. I'm going to go find someone who can teach it. Or are you getting a phone call from somebody who says, hey, I want to come teach blacksmithing. I love what you guys are doing.
It's a bit of both. So the blacksmith I actually met at the Hamilton County Fair. And so I was like, hey, when you want to do this at our property? And then I've had other, like the spoon carver, he messaged me and was like, hey, can I do this on your property? I was like, sure, come on down. We'd love to have you. And then we've got some others programs that we're talking with some artisans. So I can't wait to be able to bring those new artisans out.
And you're really featuring those artisans who are special. But I know that you also guide and lead some of the programs too. So, what is your favorite program to teach?
Goodness, I have a few. One of my favorites is the Logs Life program and then the wool processing program. That's a lot of fun to let the kids get their hands dirty in the wool. But yeah, Logs Life is so much fun because watching kids turn over logs and finding the bugs and the creatures that live underneath there and just going, hey, you know that this was a live tree and now it's on the ground. And they get to learn the entire life cycle process of a tree. It's so much fun to watch.
I was really impressed with you, the way that you handled the whole crew of kids the day that we were with you. All the different age ranges, a large number, lots of different energy levels, shall we
Mhm.
say?
Different personalities, and they had so much fun.
Yes. And you handled them all so expertly, but kept them focused on the task without it feeling like rigid and not fun. I just was really impressed with your teaching and your leadership of that time that we spent together.
Well, thank you. I've been teaching, goodness, over 20 years now, which is so hard to believe, but
Well, and we know homeschoolers are a special population, right? Because we
Mhm.
bring all those different ages, all those different stages
Yeah.
of learning, family style into the mix. And it's just always really impressive to me when a program and a leader of those programs can just see how great and rich the learning can be in that environment and like lean in and support our kids in that way. It's really cool. So we had such a good time.
Yeah, and I love watching homeschool kids there because they're so much fun because they bring a unique style to it because they have questions that a lot of these public school kids don't have. And so I love being able to answer them or be like, well, I don't know. Let's go find out and go look the information up.
That's
Fun.
awesome. So, how do you manage your class sizes? Is it different for every activity? Or do you have a standard, when you come to a homeschool day at Chattanooga Audubon, this is how many you can expect to be in your group?
It kind of depends on the program. So some programs I like to cap it at and then others I might cap at 10 depending on if I've got an assistant with me, then I'll go over more than 20. But for just me, I don't like going over 20 because when I go over 20, then my attention is way off and crazy. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, I want to be able to give each student a chance to answer a question or go like, "Oh, let's see this cool thing that's over here," and more than 20 kids, and then I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's a little too much to kind of focus."
And I imagine some of the artisans might themselves want a certain size, or maybe some of them don't care and say however
So, we
many.
have one artisan who caps it at 6 because he's using knives, and so he's like,
Fair.
"With the knives, we only cap it at 6, and we go from there."
That's wisdom.
And then others, I think one of them said he caps it at, like, 15 just to give everybody their special attention, and then I have a drop spindle lady who, she caps it at, I believe, 7, because that's all the drop spindles she has, unfortunately.
Makes sense. And so, in addition to this homeschool days, which if someone were to hop on your website right now, they would find a whole bunch of homeschool days. But what other programs do you have for kids or families that homeschool families might be interested in?
So we also have our big fairy and folk festival that comes up in May, and that's a fun, whimsical event. We have adults and kids who make fairy houses for that, and you can actually put in for our fairy house contest, and there'll be a first, second, and third place prize for adults and kids, and there's an overall prize for everybody. And event goers get to vote, so it's not us voting; it is event goers coming in,
Oh, I love
voting for
that.
their favorite ones. At the end of each day, we count and tally the votes, and then at usually around 3 o'clock on Sunday, we announce the winner, usually via Facebook Live. But then you can come dressed. It'll be a fairy contest where we're going to let people dress up and kind of do a parade, and we'll do best dress, and there'll be vendors here, there'll be mermaids in the creek, we'll have people dressed as fairies. Poppy the fairy is coming back again this year. She was very popular last year. And then of course our fall event is Walker Farm Pioneer Days, and that is our big living history program where we bring in artisans, and it's about 80% hands-on, so the kids are making cider, tasting it, making butter, tasting it. They're making corn husk dolls. They're getting to use a antique corn sheller, an antique corn grinder. The blacksmith is here. And then our long gun demonstrators, who are actually the ones who are doing the living history program, are here. And they're firing off their guns and letting kids touch different textile stuff they have. It's a lot of fun. So it's a big hands-on event.
Those
So
both sound like
cool.
so much fun.
It is a
And
blast.
to find out about those, is your website the best place? Do y'all post a lot about it on social media? What's the best way to get those dates?
So it's a bit of both. So we do have a lot of posts on social media with links to our website with all the more information. So our social media will have like a small little blurb on it, but then they can click on that link and it'll go to our website, and it'll have everything from what to expect to the time slots, the pricing. If you have any questions on it, you just send me an email, or you can call our office and somebody will answer a question on there.
And we will link to all of that in the show notes, of course. And if somebody wants to sign up specifically for a homeschool day, they do that registration through your website. Is that correct?
Correct. They'll want to go through our website so that way we know they're coming. There's certain programs you have to pre-register for, and then others we can do day of stuff. All of my artisans that we bring in, those are you have to sign up beforehand because they fill up very quickly, and they have a specific number of how many they allow in. Like most of our programs that we offer in-house, you can usually sign up day of unless we specifically said on there, oh, this program is completely full. I'm sorry. You're going to have to come another day.
Makes
And
sense.
how is your cycle? Do you run from August to May? Are they year long where you offer these homeschool specific programs? How does that work?
It's year round. So we do, even in the summer, we'll offer a homeschool day during the summer. We'll have summer camps going on, but we'll try to do at least a day during the June and July months where we have some kind of programming for those who aren't able to do the full week of summer camp, but they still want to do something fun.
That's
So
awesome.
great. I'll be looking at those.
Yeah. We like to celebrate the wins with people. So, do you have a win from one of the homeschool days that you could share with us?
Oh, goodness. One of them, I forget what the kid's name was, but it was so much fun. The kid had come up and said, "We found the coolest thing out here." And I don't remember, I think it was a salamander or something they had never seen before. And they were so excited. They were telling everybody that every time we went up to somebody, there was a couple of people who had just come walking up, were wondering what we were doing, and they were like, "We found this really cool thing," and they were telling them all about it, and I was just so excited to listen to them explain what the item was that they were telling to this complete stranger who was just like, "Okay."
I
I
love
love
it.
that.
And the kid was maybe 5. It was adorable to listen to them just tell the entire story of this little animal they found, and the person was like, "Okay." Deer in the headlights, "Oh my goodness, this thing." It was so cute.
That's
Oh, that's
awesome.
awesome. Well, Jessica, thank you so much for coming and sharing about what y'all are doing. I know both of our families are excited to do even more with y'all in the future. And we know our listeners will be excited to hear about this amazing resource nestled right in Chattanooga. So we hope lots of people will come and see you. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thanks
thanks
for
for
being
having
here.
me. And if anybody has any programs they're really wanting to see, send me emails because we may not have thought of something. Somebody may say, "Hey, we want to see this type of programming." We would love to try to offer it.
Oh my gosh,
That's
I
great.
love that invitation. And we will, if it is all right with you, we will put your email address in our show notes.
Perfect.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessica.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
So much good information from Jessica.
Amazing.
They're doing really cool things.
And I love how they're working so closely with the community. I loved that aspect of we are reaching out to people, but also people come reach out to us and we just invite them in to share their talents with the community. It's really cool.
Yeah, it is. And Jessica, you can just hear her heart. She's such a champion for the
Yeah.
people who are coming and sharing their gifts and skills. But she is a truly good educator as well. Because
Yeah.
when I went,
Yes.
She led the program.
Yeah. Tell us all about it. What'd you do?
We went to the rope making class, which I was like, I don't really know what to expect, honestly. I feel like I'm walking into this pretty blind. I had never been there. I just didn't know what to expect. And it is just the sweetest spot.
Yeah.
It's tucked kind of behind a neighborhood.
Yeah.
And it's got, you heard Jessica say this, it's got a railroad that goes right through the property. But when you get there, there's this sweet little visitor center. And the day we went, it was a day in March, and it was so cold, there were snowflakes falling. It was not a snow day. It wasn't sticking. It hadn't been cold enough the day before, the way it has to be in the South for the snow to stick. But it was so cold. There were snowflakes falling. And like, it just was like cozy inside their visitor center. And we walked from the visitor center together as a group. And on our way, Jessica, she was the only educator, the only guide that day. And she was dressed in period clothes for the time of history.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So it was like a reenactment and an education, like combined.
Yeah.
And she stopped us before we went across the railroad tracks, and we stopped and looked at a bunch of different plants, and they were all native plants. And she was telling us these are plants that people would have turned into rope at one point in history. And she had the kids feel the plants and like tell her what they were observing about the way they felt. And then we walked across the railroad tracks, and she had a fire going in the fire pit because it was
I
so
love
cold.
that.
And we were outside. They have a historical cabin and shed. And I didn't really get to explore much more of the property than that because it was so cold that day. Normally we would stick around, but we didn't afterwards. And we could have. That was definitely an opportunity. You could have stayed and gone for a hike. But we were just kind of right there at the very first historical spot that they have on the grounds. And I would say there were probably 15, maybe 20 kids. And we had just had a conversation about rope and like what makes rope strong. And she had different pieces of twine, and she had a big cast iron kettle on the fire. And she was showing the kids, the different strengths of rope that you would need to use to like do something like hoist up that heavy cast iron. And then she had this really cool, I don't even know what it's called. It's probably called a rope maker, but it was a really cool device that you string the twine and it kind of winds from one end to the other. And it's hooked on to one side, and then the main side is you turn it, you crank it,
Okay.
and it ends up twisting the twine into
Oh.
rope. But you're having multiple twists happen at the same time that you're turning this crank. But as they get tighter and they get closer, they come off this other end where they're hooked and start to twist together over and over again. So you're getting these like bigger twists and braids that happen the more you crank it.
That's wild.
I hope I explained that well.
It feels very wild.
I don't know how else to explain it, but it was fascinating. And I have some videos, so check out our social media post about it because you'll see this device. And I apologize for not knowing what it was called. But Jessica did a great job of letting every kid take a turn and come up and have a part of the process. And as they were working on it, she was just sharing history. She was answering their questions. So it was very informative. Kids were asking for how long of history were people making a rope this way? And she said all the way back until the ancient Egyptians, this is how rope was made. And kids
Whoa.
were asking, is this how rope is made today? And she said, well, some people still make rope this way, which has inspired my son. He wants to get one of these devices or make one. They're apparently fairly easy to make, but yeah. But you
I
can
feel
also
like
buy them
that's
on
a
Amazon.
I feel like challenge needs to be accepted. Homeschool
I
project.
I really want my husband and my son to make this because I feel like it would be a fun potential entrepreneurial thing for him to make.
Yeah.
He could make rope.
That's so cool.
Yeah, yeah. So lots of good questions just kind of happening organically as she was facilitating them making the rope together. And you can imagine you've got 15-ish, 20-ish homeschool kids, variety of ages, variety of skill sets, variety of patience levels on a cold day. And I just was amazed at her ability to hear the kids, acknowledge them, help them understand their turn was coming or they'd already had a turn. And maybe if we could get through everybody, there could be other turns and answering questions and just not really losing, like all the while making sure this rope was getting made.
Yeah.
Keeping this skill going. And it just felt, I think just the setting, it being like cold and we were all bundled and huddled around this fire and she's in the period costume. I was like, this is what life was like. Like life and questions and stuff happening while you're still trying to do the tasks that need to be done. So we made this big piece of rope and then she cut off a piece of it for every kid. So they got to take home a piece
Aw.
of the rope that they had made.
Cute.
My son used it immediately and has lost it and is sad about it. But guess what? They're going to do another rope making class. We can always go back. And I'm trying to remember what we paid for it. But I think it was roughly $10 for my son. And then I had to pay a chaperone fee
Yeah.
that I don't feel like was as much. I feel like we paid somewhere in the nature of $20 total for us to be there. Maybe it was like $10 for him and like $7 for me, something like that. And we could have stayed. We could have brought our lunches, which had actually been my original plan, but then it was so cold. We could have brought our lunches. We could have sat there and had lunch. We could have gone for a hike. So it was one of those where you go to the homeschool program, but it's also giving you access onto the site for the day.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful spot. I can't wait to go back and explore it more. And I'm sure we'll get into this, but like both of us have looked at some of the things that are coming in the future that we want to do. Yeah. So that was our day. It was great.
Yeah,
And then
that's awesome.
I was able to be like, Kayla, I'm so excited for you. You're going to have the best day. I can't wait to hear about it. So now I want to hear about it.
I can't remember how far apart you went in March.
They were about a month
apart.
Yeah.
Well, let me just tell you, we had absolute polar opposite weather conditions because the day that we went, it was sweltering hot. And we actually went for their blacksmithing day. And because I really felt like both of my kids would be super into that. And some other friends of ours were going. So I was like, yeah, let's do this all together. And thankfully, I had just purchased a cooling vest because I have a couple autoimmune situations that makes me sensitive to the heat. So I had my cooling vest ready to go. But this poor, sweet blacksmith was set up in the most wide open, no shade. I mean, he was direct sun the whole time.
No.
Felt so bad for him because I'm roasting, but he's next to the forge. And so he's roasting.
Yeah.
But it was so cool because he talked through the science behind how the forge is set up to like funnel air in and keep the fire going and how hot you need to keep it. He talked a lot about, how precise you have to be with the metal because if you ruin it, you ruin it. And he said sometimes, you're almost done with a project and you make one wrong swing, and it's done. And his thing was once there's a crack, there could be a ton of hairline cracks throughout. And so you just have to, junk it. So it's really neat to hear the science behind how everything works and why they do the things that they do. But the coolest part was then each kid got to come up and he had these little nails and you hammered it into a sword, a tiny little sword. And I'll post pictures on social media. But yeah, and so he would talk the kids through like, okay, I'm going to turn it and I want you to hit it right here so that, you can make it down into that little point at the end. And so each kid got to go up and the forge has a crank on it. And so he would let the kids crank it to get the heat up and he'd put the metal in the heat and then he'd put it back out on the anvil and the kids would get to work shaping it and hitting it. And it was so funny. He was very comical. Like it was also a little bit Education Anna show because he would make jokes and any of the moms who wanted to do it also got to do it. And our friend went up and started hitting it and he was like, I can't remember what he said to her, but basically like, take out all of your aggression. And so she started hitting it and he was like, oh girl, you had a week, haven't you? So funny. So he was he was really, really good at what he did, not just the actual blacksmithing part, but the keeping everybody entertained. And I felt so bad for him because there was one mom who was like wearing a baby and she had two littles and she had to go sit on the picnic tables behind everybody. And I had to go stand over in the shade. And I didn't want him to think that we weren't interested because we so were. Yeah. But he totally understood. He was like, next time I'm going to ask them to put me in more of a shaded area. It really sparked an interest in my kids. And because the other thing was after you made your sword, he dipped it in the cooling bucket. to cool it off. Initially, when my son, after he did his, the blacksmith held it up with the tongs, and my son like went to reach for it, and he was like, no, 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 no.
No, no, no.
And so, he cooled it off and then handed it to him, and they still play with those. They're obsessed. But then his daughter had a table full of things that he has blacksmithed
Cool.
for sale. And so my daughter got a necklace that had like a little cage with a gem in it. And my sweet, precious son got what appears to be a candy cane. It's a hook like shape and it's all twisted. And he tells people it's his candy cane. So, but it really sparked their interest in, I want to do more of this. I want to make more things. And I
Yeah.
told them, I said, we actually have a friend who myths. And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, our sweet friend, Miss Mary Grace, who I know listens to the show. So, hey, girl, she's a blacksmith. How cool is that? So maybe she could teach us some things. So they were just like amazed that, oh my gosh, we actually know someone who does this. And
Yeah.
it was $17 for the kids. Each of the kids were 17 and I was only $7.
Yeah.
So,
So I think that
and
must be their chaperone fee is $7.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yes, it was hot, but we had so much fun. And it was
Yeah.
so cool. So when it was like winding down, my kids and a couple of kids that we just met there went and made flower crowns with like the clover in the field. And it was just like
Oh.
so cute.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, and I should have said that too, is that we didn't know anyone. We went
yeah,
just us. And my son ended up playing in the field for a little while, playing tag
yeah,
with
yeah,
brand new friends. Yeah.
yeah,
It just like felt very comfortable in
yeah.
that way. We're all homeschoolers. Yeah, that was a really sweet part of our day too. Okay. And you also had a really cool conversation with the blacksmith about like, trade vocations and their importance and
Yeah.
his
'Cause
passion for showing kids the trades.
So he told a story about all these artisans came before the king and were like, tell me your worth, tell me why I should keep you on. And it was like, well, I make all of your clothes. Make all of your jewelry. I make all of your dishes, all this stuff. And the blacksmith was just back there laughing. And the king is like, well, what do you do? Everything's already taken pretty much. What do you do? And he was like, I make all their tools. They don't exist without me. And
Yeah.
so it sparked this conversation. Both my husband and I are college graduates, but I have also experienced, we have built a house and all that jazz. And so there have been needs for very specific tradesmen and they have been hard to find.
Yeah.
I was realizing there's not an abundance of people in trades anymore. And we've always said, if our kids want to go to college, awesome. We're here for that. But if our kids would rather go to welding school or pursue something like, blacksmithing, we're here for that too, because
Yeah.
I don't want to see us end up in a society where there are no people left that know how to do these things. And that's why I think it's really cool that we can expose the kids to stuff like this. Even the rope making. Because so
Yeah.
often we use things in our homes. We use these things and we don't think about how they were made or what was used to make them. They could have offered this, the blacksmithing, the rope making, on a Monday night at 6:00 so that everyone in the community could have access to it. But they made it a
Mhm.
homeschool day. They created a space specifically for homeschoolers, which we love, and
Yes,
are
we do.
giving exposure to these really cool things that if I were to go on YouTube and look up a video of blacksmithing, I'm sure my kid would be into it, but he'd be way more into going and blacksmithing his own teeny tiny sword. And when they would
Yes.
finish their swords, he would be like, okay, go slay the tiniest dragon. He would make comments like that. It was just so
I love
funny.
it.
Yeah, it was a really great
I'm
experience.
as I'm listening to you talk about it, I'm thinking about like movement that I feel like a lot of families, not just homeschool families, have caught on to of like, I want my kid to know where their food comes from, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't come from the grocery store. It came from a garden or an animal and having more respect for and understanding where our food comes from. But this is a really important extension of that same movement and mentality. Where do my things, my tools, not just my tools, but the things that I use or need on a day-to-day basis, where do those come from? And I think that homeschool families are primed to be willing to say, this is a kind of important smart, an important intelligence, an important skill. There's important knowledge here. And I'm not going to put one way of learning and one way of knowing and one way of succeeding and being ambitious in your adulthood over another. I'm going to expose you to all of it because there's value in all of it. We're not going to place more value on like a book smart than a skill smart. Like we think
Right.
all of it is valuable. And it's really cool that Chattanooga Audubon has decided to be a place not just for the learning that takes place naturally on their property, but to open their doors and invite these different makers, people with skills that if we're not careful, we're going to lose.
Yeah. Well, and
And that's so cool.
the cool thing is too, when you go to stuff like this, it's an open door for something more, both
Yeah.
from a kid's interest level, but also for forming a relationship with the vendor because, and I just want to shout him out. His company's called Refining Fire Forge. He's on Facebook. Go follow him. He is willing to do this at other places because I said, man, do you travel? And I kind of said it jokingly. I would love to put on something for our community, maybe for people who can't, make it up here or whatever. And he was like, "Oh, yeah, I'd love to do that." So, I mean, I just want to encourage you, ask the question. He could have been
Yeah.
like, yeah, no, I just do this and, okay, great, thanks. But I would have never known the answer without asking. Ask the question. And maybe they've never traveled before, but it's because no one's asked before.
Right.
And
But also just like
so,
how good it must feel for him
yeah,
to hear this was so great. I want to share it with more people. That lifts people up, right?
yeah,
That's encouragement and they know that they resonated with you. That's only going to make people feel good, even if their
yeah,
answer is no.
yeah. Well, and as a bonus, they're a homeschool family too.
Yeah.
And so that was really
We
cool
love
that,
it.
like, he gets it, he gets it. So, yeah, it was just
Yeah.
really fun, and you alluded to it before, but after we both had such fabulous experiences, we were like, "Well, what else is going on here?" So we're gonna talk to you
Yes.
about some of the cool things they have coming up this
Yeah.
year.
And I think Jessica might have kind of highlighted them as well, but like now we're processing them in terms of us potentially going to do
Yeah.
more. Yeah. So every May, they have an annual event. It's Chattanooga's Fairy and Folk Festival. It looks so fun.
It does. They have mermaids in the creek and artisans and food trucks, and it's very
Story time.
Yeah. They have the Ukuleles, a music band that's coming, and I just really love the name, so I think that's really fun.
Yeah.
But
It looks
all
cool.
also so affordable. Like, an adult single-day ticket is $15, a child single-day ticket is $8.
That's
Like,
very affordable.
yeah, that's very affordable, and the weekend pass for the adult is only $25, and the weekend pass for the kid is $12.
Wow. Wow. I love
Yeah.
it. It looks really fun. All right. And then also in the summer, they have summer camps. They are week-long experiences. They have alternating themes. One is a history theme because they have this whole mission of living history on the property. And the other one is a nature theme. And the nature theme, it looks like there's animal encounters. And then the history weeks, there's historical demonstrations. Very cool. And because it's summer, they have creek time.
Yeah, I love it. But the funniest thing, and I really wish we'd been recording when this happened, but we
Me
weren't.
too.
So I'm just going to share it with you. When we first hopped on before we hit record, Kat said, I have something. I was poking around on the website and I want to tell you something, but no, I'm going to save it. And I was like, okay, well, I won't go poke around on the website. I was going to. And she's like, no, go poke. So we're just
Do your thing,
chatting.
girl.
And all of a sudden I make a face and she's like, what is that face about? And I was like, I'll tell you in a minute. And we kept talking. And then I was like, oh, the thing that I made the face about, they have drop-in rates for the summer camp. And she lost it and started laughing. She's like, that's the thing I was going to tell you. And this is how
That's
we
the thing
discovered
I
that we share a brain. Because both of us had the same thought that a Monday through Friday, 9 to 3 feels like a huge commitment for us because of where we live. We don't live super close. But like Kat said, 2 days during that week feel really attainable.
Yeah, feel really great. I might do that this summer.
And I just
And
love that
then-
you have all the options. They have all these options
Yes.
for homeschool days. They have all these options to participate in the summer camps. I mean, it's really amazing how they've structured everything.
Yeah. So, of course, Homeschool Day is ongoing. But then in the fall, they also have an event called Walker Farm Pioneer Days, which is an annual event. So in 2026, that will be Monday, November 16th through Friday, November 20th. And admission is $10 per person.
That's amazing.
And it's a lot of, I think, pieces of what we've already talked about, but all in one place at one time for this week-long event. It's a hands-on living history event geared for elementary age students and families. But I think that Jessica alluded to this. They are beginning to have classes that would prepare teens to become part of the educators and reenactors at this event. And I think that is really cool.
Well, and you can set up a field trip for those Pioneer Days.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're a homeschool group or a public school group. Or you can just like go and experience it, which is really neat. I mean, it's truly choose your own adventure. And I love that.
Yes, we love a choose your own adventure. And we should also say, in addition to everything that we've already talked about, they also do homeschool field trips. So there's a field trip form on their website. So if you run a co-op or a group, you can go and you can schedule a field trip. And when I was talking to Jessica about what that looks like, it's very a la carte. Like, here are the different options we have under the history banner, under the nature banner, and you pick and choose, and you could do a combination, or you could really hone in and focus, and they would create this basically custom experience for you. And they also have pre-selected curated field trips. So you could be like, I want to go and focus on this topic that they already have, this 2.5 hour long program that they run for anyone. And they're broken down in different age groups. And it's some of the cool things that we've seen at other nature spots, like rolling logs and getting in the creek to explore and things like that. But then there's also the history element, which I think makes it unique in its own right, that you could do a little bit of both.
Yeah. And every spring they do offer birding classes to take full advantage of the spring migration. I know normally one of us or our guest does a win. And I'm just springing this on you. So, surprise. But I think we should both tell a win since we both went to different experiences. So, I would love to know your win from the rope making class.
My win that day was, one, just finding this gem. It's a little hidden gem. I was surprised I'd never heard of it before, because I feel like I'm connected enough and I search for things enough. And so it's just finding the hidden gem was a win. But my personal win was probably that I was able to let go of the reins even more than I have in the past at a homeschool program, and kind of just let my son figure it out on his own, because Jessica was so good at handling the group she had. And I got to just sit by the fire and watch my son engage. And it was cool because he was engaging with his homeschool community, but not ours, not the people we know, but that we still just fit.
Yeah.
And what works with my group of people that I always go do things with, or the places and the people I'm comfortable with, it still works in this lesser known, I hope everything's gonna be okay. But I just sat by the fire most of the time and watched him, and it was really cool.
I love that.
And he was the questions king. He was the questions king, like he is. And I just let that be okay that day. And I didn't try to manage it. She managed it, and everything was good. It was fun. How about you? What was your win?
My win was for sure watching my son participate in the act of blacksmithing and seeing the wonder on his face. Recently, Kat put on a lovely mini moms retreat for the Wild and Free moms in our group, and we listened to some sessions from the Wild and Free conference. And one of the speakers, and I can't remember the exact quote, but she basically said that wonder is essential to our homeschools. It's not optional. And that is one of my favorite things about homeschooling, is getting to have these immersive experiences. I'm not just teaching my kids from a textbook or a video. We are getting to go experience things. And I just love it when I see it come out on my kids' faces. And I know, I've talked about it before, I know my daughter loves art. I know her inclinations, but we're still kind of figuring things out with my son. And so when I see the excitement and just like the joy on his face, oh my gosh, it makes me so excited. And so that is my win. But also another win was just making the connection with this blacksmith because he was really cool. And I'm a little bit excited about what could come of this connection. So yeah, it was great.
Awesome. Kayla, when you are not, now don't lie, you were the mom who had to take out her aggression on that forge,
I
weren't you? When you
wasn't
are not
because
taking out your aggression.
I
I
had my
know who it
cooling
was.
vest so bad.
Oh no. Okay, well, when you are not wishing that you could take your aggression out on the blacksmithing forge, where can the people find you?
You can find me at scratchmadesimple_ on Instagram and at scratchmadesimple on TikTok. And Kat, where can they find you?
I'm at Recreating Camp on Instagram and Facebook. And of course, you can find us on all the socials at Homeschooling Down South. If you know of a cool place that is combining history and nature, or maybe just really great at history or nature, we don't care. We want to know about it. You can email us at hello@homeschoolingdownsouth.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, would you please give it a rating and review wherever you are listening? But more importantly, the biggest compliment we can receive is that you would share this with a friend, maybe someone who lives nearby and could go check out the homeschool programs at Chattanooga Audubon. And we, of course, will link to all of the ways that you can get in contact with the Chattanooga Audubon Society and see their programs. We're going to link to all of that in the show notes. So give it a look. And we are so glad you are with us. We'll see you next week.
Bye, y'all.
And we'll love together, we'll learn together, explore this whole wide world together, no matter where we are.